This really has to be one of the strangest crochet kits I have come across yet. It caught my attention because it was on sale for $6.99 on Amazon. Typically it retails out at $9.99. So $10 gets you this kit. And I thought, hey, great, let's check this out, see if it's something I want to explore and, you know, put on my channel. And as I went through it, it was just kind of bizarre because according to the instructions, or at least the description, and if you didn't read the description, you were going to find yourself into a little bit of trouble. It indicated that the instructions were only accessible by QR code. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm for the most part kind of a Luddite, and so I don't do QR codes, and particularly not from companies I'm not familiar with or never heard of before. And this is one of those. So I thought it was really strange. However, as I read through the description further, I noticed that I could get them to email me instructions. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll just have them email me instructions. Yeah, it's $6, $7. You know, if things go really sideways, it's going to be okay. You know, for $6 or $7, I'm willing to do that. And I did. And then I got a little more farther into the instructions because I figured, well, okay, now that I've ordered this thing, I didn't see a kind of an email situation. So I went back and I reread through the directions, and way at the bottom of the page of the description, I had to click over to like I'm not really sure what you would call it because Amazon really doesn't have extra pages, but it was like an extra image or something. And what that was supposedly the instructions for this kit. So I printed that off and I simply called it a day and waited for my kit to come in. And this is what I got. Just like this in a plastic bag. Hello and welcome to Essential Crochet. My name is Sig, and you, of course, are always welcomed here. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, I would like to invite you to do so. It helps me provide you with regular videos. If you already subscribe, I'd like to just very much thank you for your support. Okay, so let's just get going on this, shall we? And figure out what it is we've got going on here. So of course, with what I received, I, obviously didn't receive any instructions with this kit, and I certainly didn't receive a list of everything I was supposed to get in the kit. Now, the instructions on the Amazon page really do kind of show us everything we're supposed to get for this kit. And so quickly, it looks like I pretty much got all those things. And so the first thing I got was this brown, it's kind of like a nylon ribbon of sorts. Let's see what we got going on here. So this is what we have. So I don't think I've ever crocheted cording like this. So that's going to be pretty interesting. Oh, and by the way, this is going to be a summer hat. It's supposed to be a summer hat. We'll see what it ends up looking like when I'm finished. So next they give me this ribbon. And this ribbon, I guess, is supposed to go around the brim of the hat. So it's just, I don't really know what the material is. I assume it's like a polyester or maybe even an acetate. It feels quite like the kind of, silky material you might find in a lining or something. It doesn't come off feeling anything like silk, so clearly it's not going to be anything exciting or exotic as that. But yeah, okay, so we've got the sash. So they did actually include a card, and I'll read it to you here in just a minute. It was used to wrap the sash around, to keep the sash nice and prevent it from getting too wrinkled. I just assumed it was a blank card just specifically for that purpose. But it goes on to say, hey there, dear friend, thanks a bunch for snagging our product. You're absolutely awesome. We know you're all about embracing life. There are some tips and encouragement just for you. So, number 1, now it's time to open your Amazon because we've sent you a link of the detailed crochet tutorial videos to your Amazon email. If you haven't received it, which I did not, please contact us through Amazon. That's okay. I've got the printout here, and that's what I'm going to use for this particular project. Crocheting is an art of creativity. So have faith in your abilities. Even as a beginner, you'll whip up jaw-dropping creations. Believe in yourself, relax, and enjoy the whole process. Crocheting isn't just a skill, it's a way to unwind and unleash your creative mojo. Embrace the journey. Let the hook dance in your hands and create unique masterpieces. You'll discover that crochet isn't just a craft. It becomes a part of your life, bringing joy and fulfillment. We can't wait to see your fabulous creations. Well, this is a Chinese company, and this little write-up really has that AI feel, if you know what I mean, if you've ever had AI write anything up for you. But, whatever, that's fine. And I do have my instructions sheet right here. So this is what we're going to follow. So next, they've given me some stitch markers and a plastic yarn needle. Okay, I'll probably use my own needle. But for $6, all right, not a big deal. And finally, they give me a crochet hook, and they say it's a 3mm hook. So according to my Susan Bates gauge here, the closest thing I have to a 3mm is right here. It's a 3¼ millimeters. But as you can see, the head of my hook doesn't even go through. And ideally, the head should go through and the opening should fit the shaft quite nicely. And I can already see that the shaft right here, let me see if we can show this better, that the shaft right here is quite small, and then it still gets a little bigger and then bigger yet. So I'm going to pull another kind of a gauge out that I have, and we'll see what's going on with this hook. So this is another kind of a hook gauge, and so here what I have is 3¼ millimeters. So let's see how that fits. So clearly you can see that there's a lot of extra space. This is going to fit in at 3¼ right about mid shaft. And in the front part of the shaft, where I'm going to hold a lot of my yarn for the most part, really sits at a 2.75 millimeter. And then we go all the way up to a 3.75 millimeter for the thickest part of the shaft. So that's interesting. But I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to actually use this hook on this particular kit, because I'm curious to see if it's actually going, if it's going to work or how well it's going to work, because it just seems so off with comparison to my own hook that I might use. So this is a hook that I might use. It's a size 5 there. It's a 3mm. And I don't know if you can see, let me get that again for you. I think you can already see the difference in head size. And then I think you can already see the difference in the size of the neck and then the shaft. How the hook that I use, the shaft is much more consistent than the shaft of the hook with a bigger head, even though they're both a 3mm. I think you can see exactly the difference. So if you're just learning to crochet, this hook is probably going to be fine as you begin. But if you get really into crocheting, you really want to consider spending the extra money and purchasing a good quality hook. And there are many brands. I just happen to use Tulip, but there are many brands on the market that are just as good and going to and going to give you a very consistent stitch. But for this kit, I'm going to actually use the hook they give me this time. I typically don't, but this time I will, and we'll see how things turn out. It's a mystery. Okay, so I'm back. My apologies for the shape of my hands and my nails. I've been working in the garden the last few days, and so I've pretty much wreaked havoc on them. So it'll be a while before they start looking not so beat up. Anyways, let's just get back to the hat. Now, I did use the hook they supplied with the kit, and while it certainly wasn't the worst hook that I've ever used from a kit, it certainly isn't the best either. But for your $6.99, I'm not going to complain, right? It was really a decent, it was a fair hook for the price and the kit. I think had I used one of my own hooks, I might have had a better result in terms of my stitch gauge and consistency with this hat. As far as the yarn is concerned, they gave plenty of yarn. I have just a little bit left over. And, you know, what can I say about the yarn? I didn't hate working with it. I mean, it seemed okay in terms of nylon cording. The one thing I do have to say that I probably didn't like about it very much was that it's very elasticy. So there's a lot of stretch to it. Also, this flat cording and this hook, I think, really created a challenge in terms of creating consistent stitches. So that was another reason. I don't know if they used this yarn in the original piece that they show as their example piece. I'm going to guess not. It just didn't work up the way I would have expected it to work up if I'm basing it off the picture they gave me. Okay, now it's a kit. It comes from China. We all know how these things go. And for $6, there again, I'll keep beating that horse. You know, $6 is $6. So while it didn't turn out the way I had hoped, it certainly turned out better than what I thought it might, considering it was a $6 kit. So now let's talk about the hat. In all honesty, after looking at the picture and the way it was blocked, I really expected to have a hat that was more a cloche hat or a clouche hat. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce it. C-L-O-C-H-E. That's what I really expected to get. But what I got was really a very traditional bucket hat. And nothing wrong with bucket hats. That's just not the look that I was going for. But it is the look that I got. Now, in terms of the pattern, so just to quickly recap, they said that they would email me a copy of the pattern to my Amazon messaging account or email to my Amazon email. That I never received that. What I did get was an encouragement once again to use the QR code, and I'm just not going to do that. So I used the pattern that came with the original listing. And it didn't work out nearly as well as I hoped it would. So as you can see, it does give you a definition of the stitches, and that's fine. And then the hat, and what it does is it gives you the stitches you're going to be working with, but it doesn't tell you how the stitches are positioned. Like, it doesn't give you the context, right? And so if you are a beginner crocheter, this is going to make you crazy, because you're going to look at this and say, what in the hell are they talking about? And for somebody who does crochet and is familiar with working with patterns that don't come with any context, which are typically tricky at best. They usually are going to rely on experience and then also the picture of the item that they're getting or trying to make, rather. And so between looking at the image that was given to me and then following these stitch steps, I'm pretty sure I did everything correctly. I may not have, it's hard to say, but I wasn't going to QR code my way into a site I wasn't familiar with, particularly one from China, just saying. So I did it that way. And I think I did it correctly, but the shape of the cording, the flatness of the cording really made this, things just didn't work out or look like the picture, is basically the simplest way to put it. And then also those instructions they gave me, they were missing like 2 or 3 rows. So if I didn't have the original picture to kind of fall back on, I would have really, gone a little crazy trying to figure out what it was they were talking about and why this looked this way instead of that way. And you know the routine. So also another one of my complaints is that the hat itself turned out bigger than I expected. And I suppose, if I was expecting a cloche style hat, a bucket hat would be a lot bigger to me. So I really expected this to be a little more form fitting, and it's not. It's kind of loose, and you can see that there's a lot of elastic stretch to it. And while the cording itself was fine, I don't know that I would have used this cording for this pattern. There were some good things about this pattern, and then there was some not so good things about this kit. It was just, the whole thing was just kind of weird and bizarre all around. I don't feel like it was very well thought out. I don't like being sent to a site I'm unfamiliar with, especially with the QR code. While I liked the nylon cording, I can see that it would be something that's great if you're going to use it for, let's say making a purse. I think this would make a fantastic cording to make a purse with. I don't particularly like it for a hat. And then the instructions, right? The instructions were, there was no context. And if you're not, if you're not used to looking at those mystery instructions and kind of working your way through them, you're going to be lost from the very beginning. And it's going to be very frustrating, even if you only spent $6.99 on this kit. So that's my review. I really wanted to give it a really good review because I really liked the picture, but I was a bit disappointed for the reasons I've already stated. But we live and learn, and this is why I do these reviews. I do these reviews so that I can experience the pros and the cons of these kits, what makes them good, what makes them not so good, and then I can bring my opinions and personal observations to you so that you can decide for yourself if this is something that you're interested in doing yourself, if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me. That is exactly what we are here for. All right, so it was wonderful to see all you guys again, and I will talk to you soon. Have a most wonderful weekend. Stay safe, and of course, continue to be your creative, wonderful selves. Bye now.